Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT math problems out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 671. Page number 671, and today is our lesson number 75. There are two problems on that page. We're going to do both of them actually. Numbers 15 and 16. They are both hard problems, obviously, because they are the last two problems in the section. On a scale of 1 through 16, these are 15 and 16. I'm going to actually do number 16 first, and then we'll go to number 15. Because number 15 is a little bit more involved. I want to make sure that we take our time, so I want to get to this. I want to get the number 16 out of the way. Let's take a look at it. Here's the picture that is given to us in number 16. We see two rectangles here, two large rectangles here. Actually, they're not necessarily large, they're all the same sizes. There we go. They're all the same sizes. Don't look at my picture. My picture is not very nicely drawn here. It says the pattern above is composed of rectangle. This pattern is repeated. This pattern is repeated to completely cover a rectangular region, 12L units long and 10L units wide. Alright, so we have this bigger rectangle whose dimensions are 12L times 10L. Think of this as a tile. These are tiles here. You want to put them in this pattern. They are all of the same length. They are rectangular tiles, and we want to put them in this pattern, pattern of 5. And total area that we want to cover is 12L times 10L, whatever this L happens to be. This is the L here. We are told this is W. Oh, I see, right here it's there. That's how we know that they are all the same. They are the same. All of these 5s are of the same dimensions. Because this is L, which means from here to here is L, from here to here is L. This is W, and you get the idea. There are 5 of them. This is the area that we want to cover. So L obviously is some sort of however many units is. And the bigger rectangle that we want to cover is 12L times 10L. 12L times 10L is 120 L times L. But from here, we'll get our second equation. This is what we want to cover. This from here, not the second equation rather, but from here we can establish a relationship between the length and the width, the L and the W. As you can see here, 2 L's from here, from A to B, let's call it A to B, is 2L, which is same as from C to D, which we know is made up of 3W. So 2L equals 3W. That tells us that L must equal 3W over 2. L must equal 3W over 2. We can put it right in here. Let's put it right in here for one of these L. So we get 120 times L times another L, which is 3W over 2. I'm going to change my marker because this marker is dying. Watch what happens. The question simply is, how many of these boxes let's read the prop. The pattern shown above is composed of rectangles. This pattern is used repeatedly to cover a rectangular region 12L units long and 10L units wide. The question simply is, how many rectangles of dimensions L and W are needed to cover this area? 12L times 10L. And the question is, how many of these rectangles we're going to need in order to do the job? Well, the area of this one rectangle is L times W, which is what we're trying to get here. L times W. You see that? L times W. We're almost done. So 120 divided by 2, this 2 cancels out with this 120, gives us 60. And now 60 times 3 times L times W times L times W. You see, L times W. So that's 180 times LW, which is the area of this small guy, and there are 180 of them. We need 180 of them to do the job. That's it. Right here, 180 times L times W. L times W is the area of this one As I said, think of this as rectangular tiles. There are 5 tiles in this pattern. We're going to repeat this pattern to cover this kitchen floor. That's all. And that's all there is. 180 of them. Let's do number 15. Number 15. I always take a 5 seconds break between the questions in the event that you have to pause and unpause or whatever it is that you have to do. Number 15 is a nasty looking problem. They give you a little graph there on the top. Doug's biology experiment, and it's important that you have the book in front of you so that you can read the problem on your own. Don't count on my reading the problem to you, if for no other reason than for the fact, and this is going to be a shocker to you, that I have an accent. Do you understand? I sound funny. So read it to yourself, the problem. Doug's biology experiment involved timing 12 hamsters in a maze. Alright. Each hamster received at least one practice before being timed. Alright. The scatter plot above shows the time each hamster took to complete the maze. So that's what they're showing us. They're showing us how long each hamster took to finish the maze. And then on the x-axis they told you how many practices this hamster had before he was let loose on the time session. Do you understand? Based on the data, which of the following function best models the relationship between t, the number of seconds to complete the maze, and p, the number of practices? So the relationship here is that we are told that t is a function of p. That's what this is. This is how we read it. T is a function of p. Now, before we go any further, let's first understand what that means. What does it mean when you say t is a function of p? What that means in English language is that the amount of time it takes to finish the maze depends on the number of practices. That's all. That's what it means when you say t is a function of p. Now, instead of simply telling you what the right answer is, because simply pointing to you, simply telling you what the right answer is not going to get you much out of it. You're not going to be satisfied with it. You're not going to get much out of it, because if you could figure out obviously what the right answer is, you wouldn't need help with this thing. The proper thing to do here is for me to go through every single answer choices and make sure that we understand why the other 4 are the wrong answers. Let's not worry about why the right answer is right. Let's first understand why the other 4 are wrong. And I'm going to start with answer choice E. Let's look at it. Answer choice E. Okay. What the answer choice E says that t is a function of p, and the function looks like this. p plus 44. Let's ask yourself, what would it look like? What would this function look like if we were to plot it? It would look something like this. Here is the practice. What am I showing x-axis? There is the practice. Number of practices on the x-axis, and the amount of time it takes to finish the puzzle on the y-axis. And what it says is that if you do not practice at all, when p is 0, it's going to take us 44 seconds when p is 0. If we practice one time, it will take us 45 seconds. You see? 1 plus 45, or 1 plus 44. If you practice 2 times, it will take you 46 seconds. If you practice 3 times, then it will take you 47 seconds. And this is what the graph will look like. This is answer choice E. Do you see anything wrong with it? There are 2 things wrong with this situation. First thing obviously, which is the obvious thing, is that if you look at the scatter plot, which means if you look at the dots in the graph, they do not show this pattern. They do not show this clear pattern of line going up. What else is wrong with this picture? There is something else wrong with it, which is even more grave, which is even more serious, which is even of a greater problem. This is nonsensical. This is pure nonsense. What it tells is that the longer I practice, the more I practice, the longer it will take me to finish the puzzle. What the hell? if I practice 100 times, I should be faster for me. Each time you practice, the real thing should be faster for you. That's the whole bloody point of practicing. This one is saying just the opposite. It says every time I practice, the amount of time I take to actually finish the puzzle goes up by 1 second. This is pure nonsense. Let's look at D. Let's look at D. E was a pure nonsense, as I said, it was balderdash. D says, let's see what D says. D says that the amount of time it takes to finish the puzzle equals P over 44. Let's see what it looks like. P over 44. Here's our P and here is our T. So when P is 0, when you do not practice at all, 0 divided by anything is 0. So it starts out with here. When you practice once, so when P is 0, oh, this is absolute nonsense. For one thing, we don't have to do anything at all. We don't have to do anything at all for crying out loud, because it will start out with at origin. As you look at the scatter plot, it doesn't start out with origin, and to say nothing of the fact that what it says is that if you don't practice at all, you can finish the puzzle in no time at all. It will take no time at all. Zero, absolute zero time. It's nonsensical. And if I practice it one time, the amount of time it will take me is 1 over 44. So here's our 1 over 44, let's just say. So if I practice one time, it will take me 1 over 44 seconds. If I practice two times, it's going to be 2 over 44. If I practice 3 times, it will be 3 over 44. And the graph is going to look like this. Again, two things wrong with it. It starts with the origin, which is pure nonsense. Secondly, it says the exact same thing as before. The more you practice, the longer it takes. The only difference is that here is going up by 1/44th of each second. In the previous one, in answer choice E, the amount of time, what it was displaying is that it was going up by 1 second every time you practice. Here, it says the amount of time you take to finish the practice goes up by 1/44th of a second. But it doesn't change the fact that it does show you that it actually goes up. The amount of time it takes to finish the puzzle actually goes up the more you practice. And the fact that it's 0, when you don't practice at all, you can finish it in no time. This is nonsense. This is pure nonsense. Let's look at C. C says the amount of time that you practice is 44 times P. Again, pure utter rubbish. What this says is that if I practice one time, it will take me 44 seconds to finish the puzzle. If I practice 2 times, it will take me 88 seconds. You see, 44 times 2, it will take me 88 seconds to finish the puzzle. And if I don't practice at all, if P happens to be 0, I can finish the problem in no time. Again, utter nonsense. Graph does not start with origin, and to say nothing of the fact that it says that every time, here it's even worse than E and in D. In E, it said that every time you do have one practice round, the amount of time it takes to actually finish the puzzle when you're being timed goes up by 1 second. In D, it said that it went up by 1/44th of a second. Here, it's even better. It says every time I practice one time, the amount of time it takes me to finish the puzzle goes up by 44 seconds. So utter rubbish. It's not the answer. Let's look at D. In B, it says the amount of time that it takes to finish the puzzle equals the number of times you practice. That's it, number of times you practice. So here, again, if I practice no time at all, if P is 0, the amount of time it will take me to finish the puzzle is 0. If P happens to be 1, it will take me 1 second. If P happens to be 2, it will take me 2 seconds. If P happens to be 3, it will take me 3 seconds. Again, it starts with origin. It starts with origin and tells you that the amount that it takes longer and longer and longer the more you practice. It's pure rubbish. The answer is A. The answer is A. Now you're able to see why I wanted to go backwards. We did not start out with A, because it's very difficult to see that the answer is A. The only way you can figure out the right answer in this problem, as far as I can tell, is by realizing that the other four are utter rubbish. The other 4 are utter rubbish. Now what it says in A is this. It says the amount of time it takes to finish the puzzle. It claims that it depends on how many times you practice, but in reality, it's just 44 seconds. It's just going to take you about 44 seconds, regardless of how many times you practice ahead of time. Why? Because if you look at the scatter plot, it has no pattern. It shows no pattern of. You would expect that the time will go down. This is what you would expect in the case of human. In the case of human, it will expect that if I don't practice at all, if this is the P, I will take probably 44 seconds. If I practice once, maybe the amount of time it will take me after one practice is going to be a little bit less. If I practice 2 times, maybe it will be lower. If I practice 3 times, it will be lower. It's going to go down, and eventually it's going to plateau, because obviously you can't finish it in 0 times. It's going to take some minimum amount of time, and eventually you're going to reach that point where it just takes some minimum amount of time, whatever that minimum amount of time is. Maybe it is 3 seconds. Who knows? If you practice a lot, practice, eventually you hit a point where you hit the absolute minimum amount of time that it needs to finish the puzzle, and you can't go below that, because obviously you cannot finish it in no time, as the other 4 answer choices show. But here, what they're showing here is a scatter plot which has no rhythm or rhyme. This scatter plot has no rhythm or rhyme. Here's the 40, and we have 2 points at 40s, and then we have one over here and one over there, and then another one here, another one, and then another one. It has no pattern at all. They are all around 44. This was 40, and this is, so they're all around 44 somewhere. This is in the region of 44. What it says is that, what it says to us in practicality is that these mice or this hamster, whatever the hell it is, basically they have no intelligence. They have no memory, they have no intelligence. Just because you let him lose 10 times before does not mean that on the 11th time he would have learned something from the previous 10 experience. It doesn't seem to have any intelligence, it doesn't seem to have any memory, it doesn't seem to have any sort of knowledge of the previous experiences. And it takes approximately 44 seconds for each of these hamsters to finish it. And that's answer choice A. The amount of time it takes to finish the puzzle is 44 seconds, regardless of how many times you practice. That's how you say it. Why regardless of how many times you practice? Because P does not appear in the function. It doesn't depend on P, it's just 44 seconds. That's it. The answer is A. Alright? I'll see you tomorrow actually. Tomorrow we'll begin exam number 6. Today marks the halfway point for our journey. There are 10 exams in this book. This question that we just finished was the very last question, the very last math question of exam number 5. Tomorrow we'll begin exam number 6, and in the next 75 days we'll finish the second half of the book. Alright? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.